Thank you very much, Wendy. Now it is time for our Friday walk. Good morning, Father Jeff Walker.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing great. It's good to be with you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I tell you, I'm loving this spring weather, and I kind of like, you don't have to turn on one of those noise machines. You can just fall asleep to the thunder.
Yeah.
It keeps you awake, People pay big money for what Ohio's given us for free here in North Central.
Yeah, I would say that works unless you have a chihuahua, and then the thunder gets them all shaking and nervous. And, I have to comfort them at 2 a.m. in the morning. So,
you have a chihuahua.
I have 3 of them.
Well, you've made some choices.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah, I would say my wife has chihuahuas, and so I have chihuahuas.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to talk about celibacy today.
Oh, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's good.
It doesn't match, Father.
No, it's exam time down here in Bowling Green, too. Final exams start on Monday. And this always makes me, one, very glad that I'm not in college anymore. So if you think in your mercy to say a prayer for these college students preparing for their exams. But it also reveals sort of the value of living a balanced life. Because there are some students right now who have, let's say they're opening some textbooks for the first time this week.
Yeah.
And we're trying to cram for the final exam. And then there are others who have sort of studied along the way, and they are very much at peace. They're still getting enough sleep. They still have a little bit of a social life. But others are really just, it's all hands on deck, and we got to get this. We got to prepare. We got to study, cram for this final exam. And I learned this lesson. There was one, I'm going to make a confession right here on the radio. There was one exam in seminary where I thought I had it all figured out. And, I went to class and I did the reading through the time, but I didn't really prepare for the exam because I thought I could just sort of get through a loophole. I knew the professor only asked one question, and it was an oral exam. And if I could just figure out what that one question was, all I would have to do was prepare that one question and not worry about the rest. And so this is what I tried to do. I said that we got a little loophole here. I can figure out which question I'm going to get, and I'll just prepare that one. And then wouldn't you know, I got in there, and he asked me a different question. And so it didn't go so smoothly. I still passed because I'd gone to class. I'd done the reading, like I said, but I hadn't really prepared for the exam. And so I passed, but it wasn't pretty.
Let me ask real quick, though, how did you arrive at the question you thought he was going to ask you?
See, we've got it all figured out. So he gave you the possible questions. He gave you a list. And then all you had to do was start at the beginning of the day and figure out what number student you were.
Oh.
And he just asked the questions in a line. Or so we thought.
Right.
So, I figured out I'm the 12th student today, and so I'm going to there are 10 questions. So he's going to start over at the beginning. I'm going to have question number 2.
Oh, wow.
And so all I have to do is question number 2. Didn't quite work out. And the ironic thing is that class in seminary was eschatology, which is the study of the end time. So what an appropriate lesson I learned about not being able to cram for the end time. And, you have to live your life in balance, live a virtuous life, always be ready for the final exam, and then you don't have to worry about when the final exam comes. I thought about that a couple weeks ago, leading up to the eclipse, when you heard so much talk from so many people about, could this be the end? Is this the end times? Is he coming again? And so many people were worried about that. And I'm reminded, listen, if we're ready for the Lord every day, if we're living that balanced life, if we're living a life of virtue, a life of holiness, then we don't have to try and cram for the exam, which is probably not going to work out in our favor. We're just living life with the Lord every day. It's such a more balanced life to live. So there's little things during our life that teach us that, and I'm reminded of it every time we come up with exam week here at BGSU, and I'm reminded of my own experience with that life is better overall when you're living a life of holiness every day. When you're not trying to cram for the exam, when you're not trying to find a loophole, then you're not stressed about when the exam comes. then you're not stressed about when the end times will be, when you're going to meet the Lord, because you're ready. You've been living the life He's been calling you to live all along.
You know, and so true in the spiritual life, and I have to say in my own experience in Catholicism and people engaged in Catholicism, always looking for those three things. You know, if I do 1, 2, and 3, I'm good, and I don't have to worry about it. You're like, no, that's not exactly how it works. I mean, this is a life lived and a lesson learned every day.
Yeah, it's a whole way of life, and it's a joyful way of life when we live it every day. It's only a burden if we try and cram.
I love it. Thank you so much, Father Jeff. What a wonderful walk on this spring day. A little rainy, but brought some sunshine. So thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.